4,45,000 in 2021, 7,52,000 in 2022, 8,94,000 in 2023, and approximately 13 lakhs by end of this year. This is the number of people who went to study abroad in the past few years.
Indians have become one of the largest group of immigrants.
The number of Indian students traveling abroad to pursue higher education is increasing with each passing year.
Of Indian students pursuing international education has been on the rise. We have seen a sharp increase in this trend. And on an average, these students generally spend around 25 to 45 lakh rupees per year. Even after spending so much money, up to 50% of students face homesickness or cultural shock to an extent that makes them question their decision to study abroad. Then why are the numbers increasing every year? Even though we have seen an increase in violence and racism cases with Indian students all over the world.
An Indian American boy was bullied in a school in Texas. The entire episode was caught on camera.
I'm Canadian.
Go back to India. Go back to India. Why? We don't want you here.
But not everything is dark and negative. We have seen many instances where Indian students have successfully completed their education and are living a good life abroad. So where's the problem? Are 50% people doing something wrong, or is it just coincidence? Or situation for some people is different? Going abroad in search of a better life is a myth. You see, after I completed my graduation, many of my friends started preparing for various exams so they can go abroad for higher education. On one hand, many people, including famous entrepreneurs, are talking about the story of India.
India has more promise than any large country in the world.
Our Indian innovation is at a much higher level.
In India, designing in India.
The IT industry of India is world renowned.
Still, many students and working professionals are dreaming to go abroad. I just have one question. Is it all worth it? So, I decided to dig deeper into this and spoke to few of my friends who did go to study abroad. So, why did you actually go to US?
To earn in dollars?
But are people actually earning more money by moving abroad? The answer is yes. According to a study by the National Foundation for American Policy, students graduating from US typically earn 30 to 50% more than they would earn in India. For example, average salary of a software engineer in India is around 8 lakh rupees, while in the US it is approx $130,000. However, we are forgetting something called the purchase power parity. This is a concept used to compare the purchasing power of different currencies by measuring the price of the same goods and services in different countries. Let's say Aditya is studying at IIT and he receives a job offer from Amazon with a package of 30 lakhs in placements. He had also applied for the same role in US as well. There he has been offered a package of $100,000. So what do you think, which offer is better? Simple, you would directly multiply 100,000 into exchange rate, that is 84 rupees. It becomes 84 lakhs. So it obviously seems like he is earning more in US. But it's not that simple. Higher salaries usually come with higher expenses. Everything from food and rent to medicine is way more expensive in the US compared to India. So how do we calculate this accurately? This is where the concept of purchase power parity comes in. It basically creates a basket of all the common goods and services like food, clothes, housing and transportation and compares the cost of this basket in all the countries. As per the report from World Bank, the purchase power parity between the US and India is roughly 23 rupees per dollar. This means that spending $1 in US is like spending 23 rupees in India. So if Aditya's US offer of $100,000 is adjusted to PPP, basically multiplied by 23 rupees, it becomes 23 lakhs only. This means Aditya will actually earn less in the US compared to India, even though the salary looks higher on paper. And on top of this, the US job market in 2023 faced many challenges with a sharp rise in layoffs, especially in the technology sector.
Americans are worried about their job security.
No job creation during October, only 12,000 new jobs. But
Amazon is cutting hundreds of jobs from its cloud computing division.
Employees at tech giants like Amazon, Meta, and Spotify face mass layoffs.
Well, 262,000 tech employees were laid off worldwide, and more than 2/3 of those were in the US. During the pandemic, companies went on a hiring spree. But with the economy slowing down, inflation rising, and interest rates climbing, they had to make tough decisions. Major firms like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft were among the companies making large cuts, with Amazon alone laying off over 17,200 employees in 6 rounds of layoffs. And it wasn't just tech. Industries like retail, finance, and transportation were also affected. Companies say that because the global economy isn't doing well, their products and services aren't in high demand.
I know that there must be just a range of different emotions.
When revenue isn't increasing, they have to reduce their cost to make a profit. And a good way to reduce cost is to fire people. This is not the only issue. Students who travel abroad lead a very miserable life. Most of them are tense for their jobs and social life. In US and other countries, life is not so cool as they depict in the movies. You wake up, you go to university, do a part-time job, and then come back home. The way many of us grew up in India is very different from the American or UK culture. This is why many Indian students feel very homesick, lonely, and go into depression. This is Sayeda Zaidi. She went to Detroit in 2021 for her MS degree, but in July last year, she found herself in a miserable position on streets of Chicago.
हॉस्पिटल वाले साथ दिए, पैरामेडिक्स वाले साथ दिए, पर वहाँ पे खून लिए तो मैं कमजोर हो गई.
News reports showed that she was depressed and helpless. You can find many more such stories on Reddit. Also, the burden of paying the huge education loan is constantly running on their mind. Families often mortgage their homes to fund their child's foreign education, hoping for a high-paying job and big returns. But the return on investment is not guaranteed. If you don't get a high-paying job or face visa rejection, repaying back the loan with your Indian salary becomes a big headache. But despite all these challenges, why are 13 lakh Indian students studying abroad? And out of these 13 lakhs, 8.5 lakh students are concentrated in just 4 countries, which are Canada, UK, US, and Australia. And among these, the US stands out as the most desired for Indian students. But why? Well, it's simple. You see, US is home to many of the world's top universities, such as MIT, Stanford, Harvard, and many more. Unlike Indian colleges where theoretical knowledge is prioritized, the universities in US focus on practical skills and hands-on experience, which makes students more competitive in the global job market. Hence, graduates from these universities are landing high-paying jobs all over the world. But let's be honest here. The main attraction isn't just the degree, it's the whole package. I'm talking about settling in the US, enjoying better infrastructure, higher salaries, and of course the dream of every immigrant in US, green card. But there's a problem. As per the official data, an Indian immigrant in the US have to wait more than 195 years before he or she can become a US citizen. Sounds crazy, right? That's where the education route comes in handy. When you graduate from a college in US, you become eligible for something called as OPT visa for 1 year. And if you're graduating in a STEM degree, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you get extra 2 years. Hence, most people consider doing a higher degree from the US to fulfill their American dream. In 2023, India overtook China as America's largest source of international students. In fact, about 60,000 Indian computer science master students are graduating this year alone. But here's the harsh reality. Most of them are struggling to find jobs. But why am I saying this? Well, 2023 was brutal for the tech sector. Around 60 to 80,000 Indians working in US were affected, as companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta announced large-scale layoffs.
Well, parent company Alphabet is the latest tech giant to trim thousands of jobs.
Microsoft is laying off more employees in Redmond. The tech giant announced 158 new jobs.
Has announced more layoffs. The company says it will cut more than 180 jobs.
Most of these professionals who often work on H-1B or L-1 visas were especially impacted, as these visas are required to secure a new job within 60 days of being laid off, or pack your bags and just leave the country. You would have been living there for years and built a good life, but you're always at the risk of seeing your lives and careers getting disrupted, because that is how shitty the systems for immigrants is in America. This is not what shocked me. It was the whole scam that's going around the H-1B visa system in America. It's the most ridiculous system I have come across. Before I tell you what's wrong, let me take you back to where it all started. Back in the 1990s, where the internet boom was taking off in America, a lot of smart and aspiring people started launching new business on internet. But they faced a massive shortage of skilled engineers and programmers. This created a golden opportunity for Indian tech talent. The number of Indian computer science engineers heading to America started skyrocketing. This trend also had a massive effect in India. Because of growing opportunities in the US, massive number of engineering colleges and degrees started coming up in India. Everyone wanted to become an engineer, especially in computer science. America became the go-to destination because of the chances of earning in dollars. But here's the crucial part. None of this would have happened without a game-changing move in 1990s. President George Bush signed something called as the Immigration Act of 1990, which introduced the H-1B visa program and opened America's doors to talented workers from all over the world. For those of you who don't know what is H-1B, it's basically a temporary work visa through which American companies can hire specialized foreign talents. But getting an H-1B visa isn't as simple as it sounds. To get this golden ticket, first you need to land a job with a US company. And then your employer would submit a petition on your behalf so that you can work in the country. Between 2001 and 2015, over 1.8 million H-1B visas were issued, and more than half of them went to Indians. This created a clear pathway for Indians to work in the US, which is why so many Indian students started going there for higher studies. Because having a degree from US made it easier to get H-1B sponsorship and land a job in the country. Data shows Indians have consistently been the largest H-1B recipients, especially in major tech hubs like California, New Jersey and Texas. The applications for the visa also increased from 1,24,000 applications in 2014 to 2,33,000 in 2015 and a whopping 7,84,000 applications in the last year. But here's the catch. The annual H-1B cap is just 85,000 visas, which included the reserved 20,000 for advanced degree holders. So how do they decide who gets the visa? You'd think it would be obviously based on merit, the most experienced and qualified candidates. But no, it's a lottery system. You can be the top graduate from the best college, land a dream job at a top tech company, and still have your future in America hang on a luck of the draw. If your name doesn't get picked, you have to leave the country. It's already tough to find an employer who will be willing to sponsor you or apply for your H-1B visa. Companies don't want to rely on hiring someone who will need a sponsorship because of the unpredictable visa process. In 2022, only 15% companies were willing to sponsor H-1B, compared to the 28% in 2018. Take a look at these numbers. This is how much it can cost a company to file an H-1B petition. Companies also need to follow several strict labor and immigration laws to hire an H-1B sponsored candidate. If they fail to comply, they'll have to pay huge fines. On top of this, there are several scams going on in the market as visa is in very high demand. Some small contracting companies known as body shops file H-1B petitions and then rent workers to other companies without providing actual employment. This led to underpayment and exploitations of foreign workers. In recent years, some companies have also been accused of submitting multiple H-1B applications for a single worker to increase their chances in the lottery system. Last year, USCIS investigated several companies that filed thousands of duplicate applications to game the system. In fact, in 2013, Infosys was also accused of misusing the H-1B program to place Indian workers in lower wage positions intended for Americans. Also, during the pandemic, work visas were temporarily suspended. This single action put the lives and careers of 2 lakh Indians who had returned to India during the pandemic at risk. People were stuck here, facing sleepless nights and constantly worrying about losing their jobs.
President Donald Trump has now signed the executive order suspending immigration into America.
And here's the thing, the system isn't getting any better. They're not going to stop issuing student visas because that's a big source of income for them. But they also won't increase the H-1B quota or make the lottery process any fairer. Instead, they'll happily let you spend all your money on university fees, collect taxes from your hard work, and then leave you hanging in uncertainty. Think about it logically. What's the incentive for US government to make the system fairer? They're getting the cream of talent from all around the world. They're winning either way. And even if you do hit the jackpot and get the H-1B visa, you're stepping into a never-ending immigration maze. You have to keep extending your visa every 3 years. And forget about a green card. The backlog is insane. Even if you manage to navigate all these visa hurdles, Fitting into the whole new culture is a different pattern. You'll always feel like an outsider, and because of that, you'll always be very lonely. This has happened to a lot of people. People have gone through depression and they feel like they want to return back home. Studies show that homesickness is more common in Indian students than in any other students because our culture is such. There's a social interdependence in our families. This is not seen in the US or UK culture. And let's not forget about safety concerns. From the rising violent incidents to the drug abuse and homelessness in the many American cities, be it New York or San Francisco. Even if you weigh in all the pros and cons, going abroad is just not worth it. Look, I'm not saying don't go abroad. There are people who have made incredible fortunes and built amazing lives there. If you already know all of this and have already made up your mind to chase the American dream, that's your call. If you hustle really hard, network, build your skills, you can figure things out. But here's the brutal truth. No matter how talented you are, how hard you work, or how much you prepare, in this lottery-based system, luck plays a massive role in determining your career path. The key is to go with your eyes wide open, understand the risks, the challenges, and the uncertainties. Don't just focus on the glossy success stories. Look at the complete picture. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like button and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.